Hi, my name is Rabbi Lynn. It's a tremendous privilege to welcome you to MEOR, Poland. Since 2008, MEOR has been running trips to Poland and Eastern Europe, and it has grown to a wonderful, wonderful program spreading through all of our campuses and even beyond. Poland has become now the destination that many educators feel can do the most for Jewish pride and identity, to infuse spirit, hope, commitment, and idealism into a young Jew's life. We live in a world where anti-Israel sentiment is rampant, where anti-Semitism is no longer passé, it's no longer taboo. We're graced with a report by the Pew Research Center, which describes the decline of Jewish identity in America, the levels of ignorance, the levels of apathy, where 1 in 4 Jews in this country refuse to identify as Jews, where the educational system is defunct, and where the future of the Jewish people is in great question. The Holocaust is a time where the Jewish body met its fate, where a third of world Jewry was decimated in the gas chambers and forests of Europe. But there's a new trauma being inflicted on us as the people. Some might say we're even doing it ourselves. There's a trauma of apathy and lack of identity, where Jewish identity is on the decline. And there are few people that are going to be able to learn the lessons from our history. It's very courageous of you that you've decided to join this trip and you're a part of it. And I think you will see very soon that you will be one of the few who can be able to bear witness and see things with their own eyes and understand what it means and feel inspired and feel empowered to be leaders of the next generation and to keep the Jewish story strong. We're going to learn a lot about death and think it's a death march. This is not a death march. This is not a depressing trip. It'll be sad. There'll be times it'll be very powerful and very overwhelming. We will stare evil in the face. We will stare death in the face. We will be able to consider what actually happened in a way that is very painful and very real. We can meet survivors, speak to people who were there, eyewitnesses, stand in the places, and get as close to the trauma and the terror of the Holocaust as possibly we ever could. Much more so than you can on the shores of the United States. And yet, paradoxically, something magical happens in this trip. We learn more about life than we do about death. This is more a trip about Jewish life than it is about how we die. And it's not only the fact that we will see 1,000 years of rich Jewish history, and we'll get a chance to see what life was like in the shtetls, in the big cities, where 1/3 of the population of the Jews in the world found itself in Poland, 3.5 million people, where 1/3 of the entire city of Warsaw were Jews. Every third person in Warsaw, in a very cosmopolitan, advanced city, was Jewish. The vibrancy of Jewish life, that's what we're going to see. But it's not just the history we're going to see. Quite paradoxically, it's only through the understanding of Jewish martyrdom, of the Holocaust, of how we met our end, that we can understand and start to appreciate the value of Jewish life. In fact, the power of this journey is a journey where we really see what it means to give one's life as a Jew. And we'll meet millions of Jews who gave their lives, some willingly, most unwillingly, gave their lives for being a Jew. And we'll question to ourselves, what does it mean for us to give our lives as a Jew? And where the footsteps of those who came before us and those who met their end, where their footsteps ends, our footsteps will begin. It gives us a chance to understand what that means to us and what its value will be to us in life, and how we bring light into a world of darkness, and how we take the memory of those who perished for the great sin of being a Jew, and we give their lives meaning, and we give their lives purpose, and we give their lives hope, and we continue on. So you know, there's an important question that's asked. You know, let's assume that God created us. Let's assume that we have an expression. We cry when things are painful, and our eyes flow with tears. And on this trip, we'll cry. We'll be in places, everyone's going to find it. Everyone's going to get to that place. It's almost impossible not to. You'll get to a place where the tears flow. And these tears come when we're sad. These tears come. But there's another time when these tears come. And if God's creating a person, He can make many expressions for many different things. But somehow the Almighty realized that He wanted to have the same expression for joy, for euphoria. When we feel the greatest amount of happiness and joy in life, the greatest amount of pleasure, also our expression is one of tears. Why are they the same thing? The reason why our eyes well up with tears when we experience intense pain and intense joy is because when we hit that point, the two-dimensional world in front of us no longer has any meaning. It doesn't have any bearing on us. We've hit someplace so deep and so real and so intrinsic to our soul and to our being that our eyes reflect that for us as well. It's an internal, deeply spiritual experience. On this trip, we have one opportunity to achieve that, to grab onto that, to experience that more than any other time. One of the great opportunities you'll have on this trip is a chance to understand what it means to fight back, what resistance really is. And we have great legends of resistance, whether it's the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the partisans in the forest, all the types of resistance that we naturally understand. Jews picking up a gun, Jews trying to fight back, push the Germans back in there, incredible acts of bravery, incredible acts of sacrifice. But there's a type of resistance that gets overlooked. And sometimes maybe only by going there can you really appreciate how profound, how awesome this resistance was. And that resistance is that the Nazis were trying to break the Jew. The Nazis would bring food in on Yom Kippur because they wanted you to eat. The Nazis knew more about Jewish life and daily practice than sadly many American young Jews know. They were trained. The SS was trained in understanding what to look for and watching Jews keep Judaism. And it was there that we found great resistance. There were shofars blown in Auschwitz, Shabbos candles, sukkahs in Auschwitz, and all the camps, the Jews built sukkahs that the Nazis couldn't detect. Every aspect of Jewish life, to the best of their ability, was kept with tremendous sacrifice and great risk to their lives. Acts of resistance were acts of humanity in a place of monstrosity. Acts of resistance were acts of loving kindness in a place of evil. Sharing of food, sharing of a blanket, sharing of space, sharing of love, sharing of an embrace, becoming someone's father, someone's mother, becoming someone's child, becoming someone's friend. Incredible acts of humanity, incredible acts of greatness, incredible acts of Judaism, keeping Jewish faith, keeping Jewish mitzvahs, keeping Jewish life intact. That was the resistance. The Nazis say that in their own writings that the gas chambers were little shuls, small synagogues. The Jews went in and they prayed. The Nazis knew the Shema. Many of them knew the Shema by heart. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. They knew it by heart because they heard it day in and day out from the gas chambers. The Hungarians were known to have walked into the gas chamber in Auschwitz singing Hatikva because they knew what was coming for them because the reports had gotten back to their part of the camp. Incredible acts of resistance, incredible acts of faith. One such story to illustrate great resistance is a story told of the Bluzher Rebbe in the camp of Bergen-Belsen, with hundreds and hundreds of followers and a very rich and vibrant Hasidus. And in the camp in Bergen-Belsen was found the Bluzher Rebbe. And this was all done, of course, in great secrecy in the middle of the night, but in a wooden clog with some black shoe polish that was contraband almost. It was bribed. One of the soldiers was bribed with whatever bread, whatever jewelry that someone had smuggled in for some shoe polish and one of their wooden clogs. And it was Hanukkah time. And the Bluzher Rebbe was lighting a Hanukkah menorah. One candle, one light. And he stood there in the barracks, and the word got around, the Jews snuck out, and they came in. There were hundreds of people surrounding the lighting of this menorah. And the Bluzher Rebbe stood there, and he stood there with a match, and he lit the candle. And it came time to say the blessings when he lit the candle. And the first blessing we say in Hanukkah is the blessing for the mitzvah, for the beauty, for the mitzvah of lighting the Hanukkah menorah. That blessing, he said. The second blessing is we thank God in our past of all the miracles. And of course, standing in the camp in Bergen-Belsen, we for sure can pray for miracles. We sure understand that we're a people of miracles, that there is salvation and we have hope. That blessing he could also say. But then on the first night of Hanukkah, you get to the third blessing. The third blessing is the blessing Shechionu v'kiyamonu v'higionu lazman hazeh. That you have brought us to this point, you've sustained us, you've given us life so we can be at this point. And the Bluzher Rebbe got to the third blessing and he paused. And he looked around, then he turned back to the menorah and he lit the candle. He said the blessing and lit the candle. So there was a man standing, a person who had left his religiosity, a person who was scoffing at the whole event. And he came up to Bluzher Rebbe. He says, you know something, I can understand how you said the first two blessings. I can't understand how you could say the third blessing. How can you thank God that he's sustained us and kept us alive so we can come to this moment, that we can be alive at this moment when we've lost everything, our loved ones, our parents, our children, everything's been taken away from us, our homes, everything decimated. How can you say that blessing? So the Bluzher Rebbe said to him You're right, I had the same question. And that's why I paused. I couldn't say the blessing. And then I turned around, and in the midnight, the darkness of a barrack in Bergen-Belsen, I saw hundreds of Jewish eyes looking at me, waiting for that candle to be lit. And I said, how incredible is this people? I said to God Almighty, look at your people. Even in a hell like this, these people hope and they dream and they're proud to be Jewish. And the opportunity to come and participate in a joyous occasion, in a mitzvah, in an expression of their Judaism and everything they live for and everything that they're dying for. How great is this people? With that, I turned around and lit the candle. The privilege of being in the situation to see Jews who love their Judaism. They're here at this moment and expressing greatness of humanity, of faith, of perseverance, of hope, of what it means to be a Jew. Shechiyonu v'kiyamonu v'hiyonu lazman hazeh. MEOR Poland is far less about the past than it is about the future. It's not only about the Holocaust and the history. Somehow, through the lens of Jewish history, we're meant to understand our future. We're meant to see our future. But in my opinion, what we stand to gain from a trip like this, from MEOR Poland, is a chance to infuse our lives with meaning and with purpose, with power, with profundity, with greatness. A chance to view our relationships with our families, our spouses, our children, our friends, our communities, with purpose, historical purpose, meaningful purpose, spiritual purpose, to define who we are as Jews, to understand ourselves and where we fit into the big picture. But it is an experience that will stay with us for a lifetime. We want to thank you for choosing this experience, for taking this journey with us, for allowing MEOR Poland to be a part of your life. And we look forward to the experience with you and growing together and sharing each other's joys and experiencing a world of light from a world of darkness, a world of hope, from a world of despair, of knowing our past, that it shouldn't be repeated, learning its lessons, and building a strong and beautiful and vibrant Jewish future.